Knockoff manufacturers are a plague to the industry. They steal other companies' ideas and profit off their blatant plagiarism, except there's one thing. They are kind of good. In today's video, we're going to dive into the wonderful world of knockoff manufacturing, and hopefully I can convince you that it's not necessarily a bad thing at all. First off, I want to say most, if not all of these manufacturers aren't blatantly plagiarizing. The entire industry is about copying each other and providing the best coasters possible. Every single manufacturer has borrowed ideas from each other and took inspiration in one way or another. Imagine you copied your friend's essay, so you don't get marked off for plagiarism, you change a few things here and there, and that is what largely knockoff manufacturers do. Sometimes they steal layouts and track designs, but at the end of the day, their ride systems are unique to them. It may look like a B&M, but it's absolutely not a B&M coaster. Golden Horse or Jinma Rides is notorious for copying, and there are a lot of examples from them, and we will talk about them much more later in this video, but other manufacturers like Beijing Shibuai's coasters are almost all unique to them. They copy layouts here and there, but all of their coasters are engineered in some way or another and have their own unique touch. The best part is that literally every manufacturer copies, and it's not a Chinese thing. Though it may be slightly more prevalent in Chinese manufacturers, it's literally across the entire industry. A crazy example of this is with Vekoma. Vekoma is like the highest offender of plagiarism. Vekoma started out manufacturing track for Aero in Europe, and you know what they did? They just dipped from the partnership and took Aero's track design with them. That's why Vekoma MK track looks so similar to Aero track, because it's literally the same thing. I rarely hear any complaints about this, but this is plain stealing, plagiarizing all the categories above, but Vekoma is a Western company, so we don't cut them a lot of slack for it, and I am honestly just pretty fine with it. Before you get to the next segment, here's a quick plug for our Discord server. We're starting to do daily questions and trivia, or you can just talk to some fellow enthusiasts, including me. I'd love to all see you there, so please join the Discord, link in the description. Okay, so now that we cleared some common misconceptions about knockoff manufacturers, what makes them actually good? Well, first off, they simply make good coasters. Let's look at Jinma Rides. They have made an incredible amount of junk. Like, why did you decide to rip off one of the worst coaster models in the world? The SLC does not need even more jankier engineering. I think it's already sketch enough as it is. But also in Jinma's catalogs is some diamonds. For one is their knockoff B&M dive coasters. I'm not a huge fan of dive coasters, but the ride experience created by Jinma is almost identical to that of B&M. Now, is this blatant plagiarism? Well, kind of, but who cares? Something that isn't blatant plagiarism is their catapult coaster. Essentially, this is the B&M launch coaster that we have been waiting so long to see. This coaster is actually super interesting. It uses Intamin Blitz style trains with B&M tracks and an LSM launch. The layout is super low to the ground except for the inversions, and the whole entire coaster just looks to resemble an Intamin Blitz. I think this is Jinma's best work, and honestly, this could be a coaster model that would sell really well around the world. We will touch on this specific model in a little bit. Some other coasters that Jinma built really well is their flying coaster. Aurora Flying Coaster looks like an absolute beast of a ride. It uses B&M track, but Flying Dutchman trains and a Flying Dutchman dispatch system. If you go to the POV on YouTube, the first comment is, it's like if B&M and Vekoma had a baby and then shook it a little. And that was too funny to not include in the video, so here it is. It also is 100% accurate. Their other interesting model is their Broken Rail coaster. This is a knockoff Vekoma tilt coaster that uses their new gen track design and B&M-like trains with vest restraints. These look to be great rides because it has the tilting gimmick and a complete layout that follows. There's even a dueling variation that looks absolutely stunning. Like seriously, Battle of the Jungle King is one of a kind. I wonder how long it takes for the tilt tracks to reset though, because the original prototype for Vekoma takes 10 minutes to reset, so I wonder if Chinese engineering fixed this design flaw. There's also the updated Vekoma SLC ripoff. It's essentially a ripoff of the modern day STC, and this also looks really good. There's also other companies besides Jinma that provide good coasters. ZPOW is building a 5-inversion coaster at Dinosaur Park that is heavily inspired by Zamperla's Thunderbolt. The layout is very similar, but the track design is very unique. Beijing Shibuai Amusement Equipment makes this crazy dueling half-invert, half-sit-down called the Dueling Dragon model, probably named after Intamin's coaster of the same name, and the first installation of it looks to be very well put together. Beijing Juhao Amusement Rides, I definitely botched that name, makes good motorbike coasters, and the list can really go on and on. As much trash as these manufacturers make, you could find some good additions mixed in here and there. So there it is, ripoff manufacturers make good coasters, but what does that mean? Well, it means that they don't deserve the hate. Although they do plagiarize a bit, I mean everyone does it, right? They make good coasters at the end of the day, and isn't that all what matters? But there's other points I would like to refute. Jinma Rides obviously did not start off like this, and they had many flaws just like other manufacturers. Every manufacturer was at one point off-brand and not the first-rate company. Even B&M, they originally were the backup manufacturer for Dragonfire and Aero, and look where they have come. I think we just need to give these manufacturers some time to refine their works. Every manufacturer has come from somewhere. Think of Intamin and Z-Force. It doesn't come easy for everyone. Only B&M, RMC, Gravity Group, and SNS were able to build good coasters from the start, and they all had experience within the the industry before starting their companies, so I'm just saying, give some of these manufacturers some time. Another huge thing with being brand new is there haven't been a lot of time for manufacturers to adapt and improve on their decisions. If you look at the coasters being currently constructed, all of them look like solid rides that deserve some credit. I mean, look at Jinma. They started out making terrible SLC copies, and now they are taking the best parts of each manufacturer and merging them to create the best possible rides. All of the Beijing whatever companies are also making huge strides over their original sketchy ring coasters, and it's definitely interesting to see, and I think if you give these companies more time, they will develop better and come out with more well-rounded products in the near future. One thing that comes from knockoff manufacturers is always the debate of safety, and I do agree that it is somewhat of a problem here. Watching these coasters come out of countries like China where there's a lot less care towards regulations is a bit scary, and seeing accidents in the news from these coasters doesn't help any of my doubts. The ring coasters I for sure would be hesitant to ride, but beyond that I would feel 100% safe riding these new modern interpretations. Coaster Studios is going to Egypt and riding a brand new Jinma, so I'm interested to see what his thoughts are on a topic like this. There's also a rumored catapult coaster coming to a new park in Missouri. This is the B&M launch coaster ripoff made by Jinma Rides, and I would be really interesting to see if it does get built. And with US regulations controlling the coaster, I would feel very safe riding it. So safety is definitely a concern, but I have faith in modern Chinese engineering. Well, however, I have less faith in the parks operating them. If you guys did not know, knockoff coasters are really cheap. That's why they are so popular. So a lot of developing countries have these coasters. They tend to have significantly less regulations than their Western counterparts. Parks are able to cheap out and skip maintenance because of this, so it just becomes more sketchy. I do trust Jinma, but I don't entirely trust the parks. The point of this video was to try and communicate that off-brand manufacturers is just another way of saying developing manufacturers. A lot of these companies have potential to be crazy good, and they do borrow a lot of ideas, but they create just as much as they copy. It still takes engineering to look at a piece of B&M track and recreate it. Plus, Jinma has combined the best aspects of the coaster industry together. They seem to have a blend of Intamin, Vekoma, and B&M across their catalog, and it works surprisingly well. These cheap alternatives to Western companies are in no way bad and don't deserve immediate hate, but they obviously aren't the best. Kind of like my one saying in life, you get what you pay for. You cheap out and cut corners, well, there's going to be some cost somewhere, and in this case it's safety and reputation, but who knows, maybe one of these off-brand manufacturers will be the next Intamin. I mean, Jinma has created a subdivision called Noble Rides to try and reach this Western market, which is the first step to becoming huge. So yes, I do think knockoff manufacturers are good, but good in their own way. I just can't wait to see the day that someone tries to copy iBox track, because that would be really funny. That's all for today's video, guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, join the Discord, link in the description. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.